This is the Spice Must Flow. I'm back again. This is my first political video, and today it's going to be interesting because today I'm talking about two seemingly unrelated things that I do believe are in fact related. One is Loretta Lynch's call for violence that was done in a very vague way that she could have plausible deniability about, and the other is based Stickman. Um, who, at least to many on the right, is coming to be known as a hero. Um, so here's the interesting thing of what has occurred. A few days ago, Loretta Lynch, the former Attorney General for the Obama administration, released a video in which what she said was that blood has been shed before for the principles of the republic as she sees them, sort of thing, and it can be done again. Okay, and I'm cutting her whole thing when I say that, but this is the gist. The plausible deniability does she mean sacrifices on the part of people that are on the left, like they're going to get beat up, they're going to be killed or beaten by the police or something? Or is she saying, hey, we've hurt people and killed people before on our side, we can do it again? We don't really know. Was it a dog whistle to the left to begin beating people up, or was it simply a you might have to make sacrifices situation? Was it a rallying of the troops in defense or attack? We don't know. But here's the interesting thing. I look at the actions of Black Bloc. I look at the actions of Antifa, who I know a lot of people that are Democrats, and a lot of people who are on the left want to act like there's no connection between Black Bloc and Antifa and them, or especially not with the DNC. And I'm like, come on now. In many cases, their members are your kids. Their members, what little kids these people had. Most of them have an abortion and a cat. But that being said, yeah, there are connections, of course. It's kind of like that old line about laws. Nobody wants to know how laws get made. Laws and sausages, that is, right? People like to eat them. People like them themselves. They don't like to know how they were made. So I have several items linked up that are talking about this. I have the speech by Loretta Lynch linked in the description, and I have a few episodes of left-wing people using violence against the right. And then I also have Based Stickman. Based Stickman is an interesting character. His real name is Kyle Chapman. Based Stickman saw the incidents that I also have linked here by people that were on the left while they were rioting, while they were macing Trump supporters, while they were beating them. And he came prepared. This guy has a circle shield with an American flag on it. He's wearing a baseball helmet, like a baseball catcher's helmet, and he has on a gas mask, and he has various sporting protective gear on him, and he has a piece of wood with some tape around it, and he comes to this pro-Trump rally at Berkeley, ready for violence. Now, and this is important, if you look at the full footage of what happens with Based Stickman, several leftist radicalists are running at pro-Trump folks to attack them. Based Stickman does not run out into those folks, right? He doesn't run out into them. Based Stickman has them running at him and running at the people around him, and he whacks one of them over the head. And when I say whacks one of them over the head, I mean he broke the stick over the guy's head. Okay. Up to now, at all of the Trump rallies, let's just say the violence has mostly been leftists beating up folks on the right who are restraining themselves. The violence has largely gone one way. I'm not going to say you can't find footage of some Trump guy doing something in return, right? But actually, one of the interesting things to me is regularly someone on the left does something really bad, like setting someone's hair on fire or punching them or spitting on them. And then what you see actually is Trump supporters grabbing the Trump supporter affected and keeping them from going out and attacking in response. Okay. The interesting thing about Base Stickman is, for the first time after these ass whippings that the Trump people have taken, you got a guy who basically goes out and defends folks. This is why he's popular. The problem is, after he did this, he was in Berkeley, California, and after he did this, after he clocked this guy over the head, he now is facing felony charges. Now, he's already got $30,000 in his legal defense fund. He'll probably have way more money before it's all said and done. He's probably not going to face a felony when it comes right down to it, right? I mean, he'll probably get out of this. He might not. It's California. They don't like Trump, and they definitely don't like people on the right defending themselves. By the way, it is intriguing that in all of these events, there has been precious little in terms of people on the left facing prosecution for what they're doing. So there is that. But what is also very interesting in all of this is, I know that there are no doubt people on the media who are going to pick up on this, who are going to pick up on what Base Stickman did. The same people who really didn't pick up on any of the things Black Bloc or Antifa were doing. I think that's kind of related, by the way. And here's what I'm going to say. If you look at the actions of these radical left-wing groups that, I mean, at this point, shoot, they were there. You know, Loretta Lynch is all for them. You look at it, the media won't speak out against them. The media, if anything, will try to obfuscate the issue and act like the left is not being violent, or like it's mutual violence or something of this nature, when it really hasn't been that way. You look at the fact that the left won't control. There is no one de-escalating on the left side of this paradigm. There are plenty of people on the right, even really far right people, who are saying, well, we can't use violence. Violence will make us look bad. We can't get violent. Even in defense, we're going to have to take some lumps. We have to convince the people in the middle. I don't know exactly about that strategy. I know it sounds good, by the way, that strategy. The question is, are the people in the media, what are they paying, or are they paying attention to people in the media? Are the moderates paying attention to the nightly news? Because if they're paying attention to the nightly news, then at best, if they're paying attention to CNN or their nightly news or MSNBC or even Fox, depending on who it is that's on Fox, they might easily just get the impression that there's political conflict and not put together that it's the left's fault, even though it definitely is the left's fault. And that's unfortunate, but it's the way things are. But with the coming, we have to realize that Based Stickman or someone like him was inevitable. At the moment that the left began macing women and beating women over the head with sticks and beating up old men, Somebody was going to come out and do this, right? Uh, and it is interesting that people were giving money to this guy, probably plenty of whom hadn't even seen the video or had the context behind the video to be able to see that he was actually acting in self-defense as well as defense of others, right? There are probably plenty of people who were like, oh, sounds great, gave some money. You don't get $30,000 virtually overnight unless there's a huge hole somewhere out there, um, in terms of something that was missing. And we have to be honest with ourselves. What was missing up to this point was nobody on the right was doing this. But the problem is, how do we put the genie back in the bottle? See, the left normalized the political violence. The right has responded with political violence. Whether you contended it was necessary or not, they responded with political violence. That happened. So, how do we come back from this? I don't know. I don't actually think you really can, per se. Is this a moment like what happened in the years before the Civil War, when a Southern Democrat beat within an inch of his life a Northern Republican? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's quite that drastic. Okay, I consider that was basically the day that the United States broke up, right? I mean, the representatives back then began carrying guns and knives into the chamber, into the chambers of Congress. I don't think that base Stickman is now. That's the response. I don't think that has occurred. Okay, I don't know that necessarily has happened, but I do know that this guy is not. He might be the first, but he's not likely the last. And not only that, but I think we're going to see politically where this all leads. It's going to get interesting. You see, it's one thing if a conservative who beat a leftist over the head, who, for all we know, the leftist that he beat over the head could be the daughter or well, it was a guy. So, although I don't know, I'm guessing his gender, right? I'm just guessing the gender. All these things we can't do in the current year. It's kind of funny. And for all we know, he's related to somebody big, this guy that he beat over the head. We don't know. But here's the interesting thing about it. This happened in California. What happens if this happens in Texas? Or Missouri? Or Utah, right? What happens if this happens in a red state? Will a future based stickman in a red state even get arrested? Look, here's the thing, right? I realize that a lot of people out there would probably tell me, "Oh, well, of course, the rule of law will work in state XYZ." But I ask, will it really? Will it? I don't know. Probably not. Probably not. At least not the way that we've thought of it in the past. And it's not just on the left. The country is splitting. It's splitting way. We are parting ways as a country. Abraham Lincoln's, paraphrasing his quote, that this country can't be killed, but it can commit suicide. Well, I think we're dangerously close on that. I personally have no interest in ever going back to California. I'm not from there, but I have family there. I have no interest in going there. I have no interest in going there at all, whatsoever, because of what California's become, how far away it is politically and socially, not to mention economically, from what I'm about. Okay, there are a bunch of people who are in one blue state or another who have no interest in ever going, for instance, to Texas, because Texas is totally against everything they think, feel, believe, etc. That's something to consider. As I said, I don't know, I don't think, more accurately, I do not think that Based Stickman was the beating down of some guy in Congress. Okay. I don't think that Based Stickman was the final event before we decide that we need to part ways, right, as a nation. But I think he was the first. I think he was the first major event because up to now, people on the left were able to beat up people on the right, and they didn't face a lot of problems for it. Um, Trump's comment about helping people who had punched somebody in the face that was acting like a knucklehead at one of his rallies aside, okay, when it comes down to it, Trump folks are just being far, far less violent. Will they continue to be? And if they go to rallies in the future, will they, clearly, and this is something that's very interesting because I haven't seen it before. Normally, people on the right get very worried when they find out somebody got arrested and is facing felony charges for what they've done. Everybody instead on the right, a lot of them are basically being like, oh, well, let's help this guy out. What he did was obviously the right thing to do. And people are already talking about forming brigades uh, of Based Stickman. So to not actually to go and beat up the leftists right there on the spot, but simply to defend them, to carry homemade shields and sticks, right, and protect themselves and protect the protesters around them, right? Already been discussed. Already is being talked about as a thing to do. So I don't know. This is going to get interesting. Like in a Chinese sense of the word, it's we're living in very interesting times. It's not necessarily a positive thing. But we'll find out what happens one way or another. As I said, this is just a little note. This is my first political video. I'm going to do ones in the future. For the most part, I think on a philosophical basis regarding this, and I have a lot of philosophical and theoretical videos that I have planned to do. And also deeper looks at what is going on. But I mean, I occasionally current events rise to the fore, and you got to talk about them. And hearing Loretta Lynch advocate for violence, arguably, and seeing a guy on the right, Based Stickman, pop a guy over the head, even if that guy had it coming. This is a sign of the times. I figured somebody should talk about it. By the way, if you are a fan of Based Stickman, if you watch the video of him, and you like it, you like what he's done, and you don't want him to go to prison for defending the people especially after the leftists had already chemically assaulted a old man, by the way, and torn up a free speech sign literally out of the hands of a Trump supporter they had beat and set it on fire. If you don't want Based Stickman to go down for the felonies, you can look at, there are several folks that are, or there is basically a GoFundMe going on for the man now. So you can, of course, donate to it. Any rate, though, I think that's about it. So you guys have a good one. Talk to you later. Spice must flow.